And even more imminently, beyond just Amazon not being forced to contribute, by them never facing any consequence for anything, they are, and Jeff Bezos is endangering public health. I mean, if he's not, I've spoken with, I've been getting tips and direct messages from Amazon workers in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. They don't all have proper masks. They don't all have gloves. There's been some sinks that have been, don't use this sink. They're all in break rooms packed like sardines. They are the ones touching the boxes, going to millions of Americans all over the country, and not through the fault of the workers, but through the greed and not wanting to just provide the proper equipment. We don't know everything about this virus. We don't know how long it could live on surfaces or on boxes. Right. So they're basically, because of Bezos not doing the right thing here, workers are mailing out things that could be getting Americans sick.
Absolutely. I think that's a really eloquent description of the complete dysfunctionality of the capitalist system, where if you have a system that is that exists to fuel the greed, endless greed of a few people at the top, it exposes people to devastation in so many different ways that are not immediately visible. And one of the ways in which this could happen, the spread of this virus, which we know very little about even now, is exactly in the way you said. And in fact, the workers at Amazon, the warehouse workers, the delivery drivers, the cargo handlers, the security personnel, custodial workers, cafeteria workers, all of these workers are on the front lines of, having to put their own lives at risk because Amazon, this trillion-dollar corporation, won't shell out pennies, literally pennies for them to be able to provide workers with basic protection. I mean, we've talked to, just like you said, you have, Jordan, we've talked to cargo handlers and delivery drivers here in the Seattle area, and they will tell you that they haven't even received hand sanitizer bottles, the dispensers, for basic disinfectant. They have not received gloves. They were also, like you said, they had these stand-up meetings where they were all packed like sardines. At the time when it was well known that we needed to have social distancing, at the time that the governor had already put in place stay-at-home policies. So well-off people and well-off workers are able to keep themselves safe at home, but then even they are not safe because there's this sort of contagious mechanism that is at play because capitalism cannot actually address the crisis. Because in order to address a crisis like COVID-19, you need a system that is based on cooperation and collaboration among all people who are equal. We don't have that situation. And that's why, in many ways, the crisis that we are seeing, especially this especially highlighted in the context of Amazon, because it's such a huge corporation. Jeff Bezos is now apparently on track to become the world's first trillionaire by 2026. I mean, can you even imagine what a billion is in your head, let alone a trillion? I mean, this is just completely wacky. We should be rejecting a system that can create a trillionaire, on its face at the same time that people are dying because they don't have food. That system should be rejected. And the only way to provide a vision for an alternative to this Amazon type of vision is to understand that we cannot build this on the basis of lifestyle choice, in the sense that we should not be condemning people for buying packages from Amazon, especially now when they're being told stay at home, keep everyone safe by not going out. So they're doing the right thing by ordering online. So we have to remember, Jeff Bezos is not about to become a trillionaire because he invented online shopping, much less the internet. He did neither. He is not the one building the software for the system that is kept alive for online shopping. It's the tech workers who's delivering the packages. It's the delivery drivers and cargo handlers who's handling the packages and preparing them for delivery. It's the warehouse workers. So it's this army of workers that is doing all the work, the logistics sector, and who's reaping the benefits? A few people at the top, Jeff Bezos and his cronies. So really, for me, this is a reminder that in order to provide a different vision of a socialist world, we have to concretely point out that the problem with Amazon is not that it exists and provides these services, but that it is privately owned and it is geared towards profit making for the very top at the expense of workers and the community, as you said. So we need the democratic public ownership of corporations like Amazon so that all the resources can be geared towards social good, especially in times of pandemics like this one.
And I'd like to ask you, I met you last year when I covered the exploding homeless problem in Seattle, which in large part to companies like Amazon. I think rent has gone up. I mean, different estimates, but like 50 to 70% in the last 5 years. Obviously, the homeless are extremely vulnerable right now to COVID. Andrew Cuomo in New York, has kind of depicted them as trash that needs to be removed from the subway. When I was in Seattle, champions like you have been trying to help the homeless, but not the Democratic Party. What is being done right now to try and protect the homeless who are very vulnerable to coronavirus, but also, get them off the streets? Obviously, they would be carriers if other people are near them.
It's absolutely correct to look at the impact of the crisis right now, the COVID-19 crisis, in light of the problems that the deep social problems that existed pre-existed before this pandemic. And when you were there, yes, absolutely, there has been a raging homelessness crisis, which has only gotten exacerbated since you were here, for the simple reason is that, as you said, when rents are skyrocketing, you have a continuous pipeline towards homelessness. So not only are the services for those who are homeless right now completely underfunded and have been gutted towards over the years, but not only that, there are people who weren't homeless before who've become homeless now. Since you visited, more people have become homeless because they can't keep up with the rents. The rents are increasing so rapidly that people are barely managing to survive. And most people have been one paycheck or one rent increase or one other financial shock away from being forced to couch surf, being forced to double up with family. But those options run out because everybody's under pressure, and then you're out on the streets. So in other words, it is an inhumane system where politicians like Cuomo talk about homeless people as completely indispensable because these are our neighbors, these are our community members. And as long as we don't address the housing crisis, we are going to see homelessness. And I don't believe that this can be addressed on the basis of capitalism, but under capitalism, it is our duty to build mass movements to fight for and win major reforms. And one of the reforms, as you know, is this Amazon tax legislation that we're pushing for, because a big part of this program is, to use the revenues that would be generated by taxing corporations like Amazon in order to build permanently affordable rent-controlled social housing. And it is the expansion of social housing which will ultimately make a dent in the homelessness crisis, because as long as housing is a commodity that exists to make profits for corporate developers and property management corporations, housing is not going to become affordable. It has to be publicly owned and controlled.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.